All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Michael Chandler because over the weekend at UFC 292, during the tough finales, Michael Chandler participated in what was sort of a media scrum where he essentially, for half an hour, answered questions about Conor McGregor, which I could only imagine was eating him up inside, or maybe he liked it, who knows, because the topic of this video is how unbelievably thirsty Michael Chandler is to get that fight with Conor McGregor. There was literally a part in that interview where he was being asked questions about the USADA situation, and Michael Chandler essentially said that he wants Conor McGregor to get a USADA exemption.
Checking
He
USADA
thinks
pool
that
at all. I don't know how to check the USADA pool, but I know there are people who check the USADA pool and it's daily. That whole situation is very interesting to me. I got a lot of different thoughts on it. Ultimately, like I said, I signed with the organization in September of 2020, and I could have fought October of 2020. So, this whole he retired, so it's got to take 6 months to come back. I mean, are we splitting hairs here? What are we talking about? What's to me? As long as a man is in the USADA testing pool for months on end and has the ability to be tested every single day or multiple times a day for a certain period of time, it's a sport. That to me is a very interesting gray area. And ultimately, I'm out here and I can fight Conor with 1 day on the USADA testing pool or a year on the USADA testing pool. It's not going to make a difference.
The last one.
Michael, back here.
Follow up. So just to follow up on your comments, you don't care whether he's in the USADA pool or not.
Well, I mean, obviously, being in the USADA testing pool is a prerequisite to competing in the UFC. What I'm saying is, are we splitting hairs with the whole he's got to be in for 6 months thing? How long was Bo Nichols' opponent in the USADA testing pool? He signed on 6 days' notice, right? This is what we do all the time. It's an interesting thing because of the character, the platform that Conor holds, who he is. We want to just
he thinks
dissect.
that they are splitting hairs with the whole 6 months thing. He brought up Bo Nichols' opponent, who the UFC signed on short notice. I think it was 6 days or something along those lines. And he said, that guy wasn't in the pool for 6 months, so why is it that Conor has to be? And he said it's just because of the name, and we just hyperanalyze everything he does, basically sticking up for Conor, saying that he should not have to be tested for 6 months. He should just be allowed to compete. At first, I got to admit, I thought this was a good point. I started, you know what I mean? It got the gears going a little bit. I thought, that's a good point. The UFC signs people all the time on extremely short notice. There's no way those guys have been in the pool for 6 months. And, a lot of the smaller organizations, they don't utilize USADA, and it's an expensive service that the UFC pays for. So, or actually, I think the athletes pay for it. I think they consider USADA in fighter pay, but regardless, that I thought about it. And then I went on their website to see if they had anything regarding retirement. And they have an entire section regarding retirement. Okay. And retirement is not just like you get to say on Twitter that I've retired, remove me from the USADA testing pool. You have to actually write a formal retirement letter, send it to USADA. Then they remove you from the testing pool and you're essentially allowed to do whatever you want. If you want to return from retirement, you then have to also send them a letter saying you want to return from retirement. You have to enter the pool for 6 months and get tested during that time. I would imagine this is somewhat of an attempt to mitigate whatever advantage you acquired throughout your time retired, because you were allowed to take whatever the fuck you want, whereas your opponent was not. Okay, so it's not really the same thing as them getting a guy on short notice to come into the UFC and he hasn't been tested for 6 months. The guy's actively competing. They can piss test him, they can blood test him the second he gets in the UFC. If he pops, then he pops. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Conor McGregor could just clear out for a month, test positive, and still have a massive advantage in terms of whatever it was he was taking during his time off. So, with that being said, you may think it's a silly rule, but it is still a rule. And I would hope that USADA does not give Conor McGregor a use exemption, because I tell you what, dude, I am so fucking sick of their slimy shit, man. Giving people suspensions for what they deemed to be proven tainted supplements. Sean O'Malley got suspended for 6 months in 2019 for what USADA said was consistent with a contaminant. Bueno Silva just got suspended for 6 months because of an ADHD medication or something along those lines. But when John Jones wants to return against Cyril Gahn, well, the science has changed, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to change our rules so that if you come in here with a certain amount of picograms with, you know, Tyranobol or whatever the fuck, that's totally fine. So Bueno Silva taking some prescribed medication, or I don't know, maybe it wasn't prescribed, but regardless, dude, John Jones coming in with pulsing picograms of fucking Tren or whatever he's on, perfectly fine. Okay, so I hope that they wouldn't just keep making exemptions for the superstars, because that is unbelievably fucking annoying, and it's unfair to everybody else that gets tested on a regular basis and has to try their best to remain clean. Okay, and I'll tell you what, dude, a guy like John Jones, who has millions and millions and millions of dollars in the bank, should not be, he has the, there's no fucking way that dude should be buying tainted supplements. And I know that you can't tell until you've been tested, but he has the money to buy the best supplements on planet Earth. The best, most tested, not from fucking China or wherever else. There's no way the dude should be getting tainted shit, okay? They allowed Brock Lesnar to compete against Mark Hunt, knowing damn well the dude had tested positive, didn't say a goddamn thing until after Mark Hunt got the fucking shit beat out of him. I don't think they should do this for Conor McGregor, and I don't fucking care if Michael Chandler wants them to, dude. Stop being so goddamn thirsty. It's honestly a little pathetic, and this might be why Conor's so uninterested in the fight with Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler seems to think that it's a really tough fight. The whole world knows it's a tough fight. This is the toughest fight he could have came back to. I could think of 5 other guys off the top of my head that would have been a tougher matchup for Conor McGregor than you, okay? It seems as though Conor likes a girl or a guy to play hard to get, and Michael Chandler is doing the exact fucking opposite. He is being needy, like new puppy love type shit, dude, and he won't get off of it. Honestly, man, stop talking about it. Forget about the guy. And you know what I mean? Like, they asked him later on in the interview if he was just going to wait for Conor McGregor or if he was going to need to fight in the meantime. And he talked about how he's essentially financially set. He's made a lot of good investments, all this shit. So he doesn't need to fight to pay his bills. But you do want a championship, do you not? Like, do you know what I mean? That's been sort of what he says on a regular basis. He wants to eventually fight for the championship again, while you sitting out and waiting for a guy that hasn't competed in years, hasn't won in multiple years, you know what I mean? Isn't really even, is not ranked in the fucking division. You could be going out there and having fights against guys that are actually active competitors and would actually propel you into a potential title shot. And I know that the UFC would probably give him one if he were to beat Conor McGregor, despite how fucking utterly ridiculous that would be. But honestly, man, the dude needs to stop acting so thirsty. I don't blame Conor for not being interested. I would be a little disinterested myself, okay? Like, this was why, you know, people were shitting on Dustin for acting like he didn't care about a rematch or whatever with him after the fact. But that might have been the exact way to play it. Do you know what I mean? If he would have been desperate all over him, yeah, I want it again, I will, like, it's just, it makes it less appealing. This is like human nature, dude. Playing hard to get is a real fucking thing. Michael Chandler sucks at it, dude, okay? And I don't get it. Just fuck off. Seriously. I truly wish he would act to them. He gives way too long of answers, and he's so complimentary of Conor McGregor. The dude needs to engage in some trash talk, okay? He just needs to. And I find it ridiculous that he would actually be advocating for Conor McGregor to get a USADA exemption. Like, come on, man. Come on. It's ridiculous to me, dude. Just because he's famous and you want to make a ton of money, you're willing to allow him to use steroids when 600 other fighters on the fucking roster would get suspended and lose out on their livelihood for like a year and a half had they done the shit that Conor McGregor did. Like, it's just ridiculous, man. But either way, I don't know what else really to say about this, but I just watched that interview and I thought it was a tad ridiculous. I was a little bit annoyed by Michael Chandler, and I just felt like I understood Conor McGregor in that moment as to why he lost interest in fighting Michael Chandler. And I also find it crazy that Michael Chandler would advocate for that. I just do. I can't believe it. Why would you want guys to get special treatment? Do you know what I mean? It's just fucking strange. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about Michael Chandler's thirsty ass in the comments below. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.